Welcome to Frenzied Printing. My name is Becky. I'll be your host. Let's get into today's video.
Okay, so today I thought I'd do a little tutorial about surface smoothing and surface texture and what it is that you're going to want to get out of your slicer settings to assist your end product on your model. And so I picked out this design. This design, if you're interested, is a Billy Hooper design. I will put the link in the comments along with a discount code if you're interested in joining the Patreon. So I just wanted to go over a couple of features of the slicer settings that might help. I know this is called custom. It's not the standard stock settings, people call it. It's because I've just changed the layer widths here, not much else. For this design, we could do a couple of different things to assist in the appearance. If you were to just leave it alone and slice it as is, you could take a look at how the lines are going to appear on your final product. So let's do that now. And then in the view, we want it to say line type and not filament. If it says filament, it's just going to show you like the colors and where those are going to be. You can see some lines on here. If this was like black, or it'd be hard to see anything at all, just be all black. But I use gray for this purpose, just so you guys can see the lines a little bit better. Over here is a color chart. So it tells you what the colors mean on the screen. So this bright yellow here is inner walls. Do we want the inner walls to show? I don't know. I guess we'll print one out and find out if we like how that turns out. It also shows you the direction of your infill and your surface infill here. Top surface. It looks kind of cool to me. I like it. Direction of the top surface for the skull also looks really cool. And here's some texture inside the skull's eyes, which I think that'll turn out okay too. So if we want to just leave this at stock settings, we're close to stock settings. If you look over here, I do not use classic wall generator. I always use Arachne. So this is not stock, but if I were to change it to stock, we could see what that looks like. I'm not sure if you're going to notice much of an appearance difference. I think the classic and Arachne really shine with the difference on text. So whenever you're doing text, like top surface of text, yeah, see, it didn't really change too much of the appearance in here, maybe a little bit. It looks like 24 minutes, just over 24 and a half minutes. And it's going to use 7.5 grams of filament. I don't think we're going to do much different here as far as filament weight. The most that we'll do is like the layer line count will change a little bit as we go through some of these steps. So right now we're looking at 55 layers and 24.5 minute time on print. So I send that off to the slicer. I'm not going to do it right now. I want to just show you some other things. What else can we do to make our appearance look a little better or a little different when that comes off the printer and you're not happy with it? You can tick this little box for only one wall on top surfaces. It does just what it sounds like. Use only one wall on flat top surfaces to give more space to the top infill pattern. So this is great for closing gaps. So if you had some gaps between these little wing parts here or something, this would close it in. And sometimes up in here too, in this little dimple area, that would help close those spots in as well. I think there was a little bit of gap in here. It might help a little bit. Once you tick this box, another box appears. And if you hover over it for a moment, you could pause the video if you need to and read this little box, learn something about what this new box does and manipulating it, what it does. I'm going to just print a couple of test prints. Since this is a small item, it's very cheap. I can print a couple. It's not going to matter. I think it said it was like 20 cents to print one. So I'm not really going to hurt if I print like 4 or 5 of these just to show what they look like in the end. Sometimes it's hard to visualize what something looks like based on a slicer screen. So if I add only one wall on the top surface and I leave this at default 300, this is what our lines will look like after the print is done. So this is much different from what we saw a minute ago when we had unlimited walls, right? There's a lot less yellow up in here. So I can print that out and show you what that looks like. Let's look at time. It's 26 minutes, 14 seconds. The weight didn't change much, and the layer number is still 55. So not much different as far as cost, time goes. But this is going to look very different in our final product. We can already see that with the difference in the lines on this preview screen. All right, so what are some other things we can do? We can leave this one while on top surfacing checked. We can play with this number. If we go back, we don't even have to go back. We can just do it right here and do, let's say, reduce it down to 100 and reslice. We can see what the difference is between the 300 and the 100. So look at how all the yellow just disappears in here. Is that good? Is it bad? What are we going to like it? Are we not going to like it? Let's print one and find out. It's 27.5 minutes, about the same amount of weight, same number of layers. So that's another option. What if we change it to like 600? Let's double it, right? Just see what that looks like. So this looks almost identical to not checking this box. You could see that it looks almost the same as if we just didn't check this. So unlimited number of walls. I think this number is way too high. I think the preference here is probably going to be to check this box and leave it at 300, but you guys can decide for yourselves once I show the final prints. So I'm not going to print this one. Let me see, what else can I show you? I'm going to leave this at default 300. I'm going to keep this checked. I am going to change this. So this I usually leave as my default custom setting, inner outer. That's because if you read this, and go ahead, pause the video if you need to, the inner outer is the best overhangs. So a lot of people have loose lines on their overhangs, and they don't understand why their lines are so saggy. They don't want to print supports, cost of material or scarring from pulling the supports off. That's a whole separate video, but for this project, because we're not worried about overhangs, it looks like we don't have very much as far as overhangs. Plus, this is on the back, who cares, right? I'm going to change this to inner, outer, inner, which gives us our best top surface appearance. And that just, again, if you pause the video and you read it, it tells you exactly what it does. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this on inner, outer, inner for all of these test prints. I'm going to print default without checking the box. Then I'm going to print it with checking the box and leave this at 300 and then change this down to 100. See if we like it, see what we like, see what we don't like. So the question out there I can hear you all asking is, what about adaptive layering? Okay, yeah, adaptive layering is a really cool technique. If you click on your model and click the variable layer height button, this basically shows you the layer lines in your model, and you can manipulate those manually. Right over here, this little slider bar, as you go up and down, shows you what layer height you're at. And then if you click this line and you drag it left or right, if you drag it left, it gets green, which means it's going to shorten the layer heights, takes longer to print, gives you more layers, but it gives you a really smooth surface. I already have these are default settings. I'm just going to click adaptive. It does the entire model. And then you can, when it's green like that, it means like that's the smoothest it's going to get. The smallest layer lines you're going to see. Smaller layer lines or not smaller layer lines, but layer height. The closer these lines are together, the smoother your object is going to be. So you want these lines to kind of mesh together as much as possible. And then if you hit the smooth button, you can play around with the quality and smoothness of that flat surface in the background. I don't know if you saw it, but as I'm clicking this, you can see this is changing smoothness. So we can click that quite a few times, smooth it out, and we can send this to print as is so that everyone can see they're one of the most popular tools out there, adaptive layer height, what that looks like when it's printed out. The other thing that you can do to help the appearance of a model that is not flat, right? Not this whole model isn't flat. The skull is very contoured, very contoured. If this was all flat, I would not show this trick. But since the skull is very contoured, the other thing you can do to help smooth it out is you can change the layer pattern on top surfaces. So if I was to, let's just hit preview on this so you guys can see in the preview screen what this will look like as far as how the lines will land, if it helps at all. I know having the final models will probably help the best, but let's take a look. Yeah, you could see here that we doubled the number of layers in this model, which means it's also going to increase the amount of time it takes to print. So now we're up to 40.5 minutes. Still the same amount of plastic. Here's what it'll look like. That is so smooth right here. And you might be happy with that when it comes out. I'm going to show you another trick. So if we go to the strength setting and we take a look at our top surface pattern, it's usually default to monotonic line. We can change this for concentric items like this, and see what that looks like. So let's see what that looks like. I don't know about you, but I think that looks so cool. It doesn't appear to have changed too much as far as print time, added 1 minute, not a big deal. But check out the pattern on those wings. Kind of dig it. I like it. It's also going to help out the skull because the skull is not flat. Now, what if we didn't like this concentric pattern for the wings, but we love it for the skull because it's so smooth now? And we didn't lose any of like the dimpling and the weatheredness. That texture is still going to be there. It's just the lines will be tighter and you won't have as much gap in the surface. So I'm going to print this like this because I think I like it. I'm also going to show you another trick. So the next trick is going to be back in the prep screen. You can add to your model different commands at different layer heights. So if you right click your model, for me it's a right click, and then go to height range modifier, I can add different commands for a different layer height. So let's say I want the wings to be monotonic line, but I want the skull to be concentric. I can totally do that. Let me see. I think it was like 1.5 or 6 or something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, right around there. Too low. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's good. I like it. So now at this layer height, 0 to 1.55, I can tell it to have a different pattern for the top surface. If I thought monotonic line was a better top surface pattern for the wing part and concentric was a better surface pattern for the skull part, I can tell my slicer that that's what I want, reslice the image, and see what that looks like in the preview screen. And then I will send this one off to print as well, and we'll have quite a few models to take a look at. So now you can see the pattern in the wings is monotonic line, and the pattern on the skull is concentric.
All right, I'm gonna do the best I can with this lighting, but here is the first model that we did, pretty much standard settings. This is how our layer lines turned out. Not terrible, but not great. Then here's our second one. Look at the texture in the wings, a little bit smoother. Face turned out a little bit tighter as far as the lines went. On the forehead there, you can see it, a little bit tighter. Then here's our third one. Like this one too. And then this one, the fourth one. Lines are very bold, but look how smooth that skull turned out. Like, that's really smooth. This one was with the adaptive layer height. And then this one was with the concentric lines and the adaptive layer height for the whole thing. This one was concentric for the skull and monotonic line for the wings. So that's the difference. I wrote it on the back. This is number 1, no filters, kind of standard. This is number 2, 1 wall, 300%. So that's just by ticking the box that says one wall on top surfaces. So that's standard, 1 wall. Then this was 1 wall at 100%. And it looks very similar to this one. And then this one, oh, this is our number 5. Okay, so number 4 was concentric adaptive. Yep, so this is all surfaces left as concentric. And then we used adaptive layer height, and we also left it on 1 wall for top surfaces. So this has the benefits of this guy, but with adaptive layer height, and it made the skull just super smooth, and monotonic line, which I kind of like in here for the wing pattern. I don't know why, it just makes me feel like more of a natural fly wing, if you've ever looked at a fly's wing. And then this was number 5, which was we added a height range modifier, and we did the adaptive layer, and our modifier only changed the pattern. So the pattern at the top here was concentric, and the pattern in the back here is monotonic line.
Here's a look at the finish. I ended up choosing a pearlescent mica powder with a metallic lavender paint. I know that this project was small and subtle. If you have a model specifically that you want me to show how to smooth, just put it in the comments. I'll download the model and I'll show it. This project was a spice rack that I've been working on, and I had a lot of fun doing it. It's almost done. So if you guys are liking this content, please like and subscribe, get notifications for my next video. Thanks.